Hey guys, this is Alex, and welcome to the Two Dudes Brews and Reviews podcast. Today, we're talking about James Cameron's 2009 film, Avatar. If you like what you hear, consider subscribing to the podcast, and maybe even tell your friends about us. With that being said, we hope you enjoy the show.
Before we get into the movie, you went on vacation to the white man's paradise of Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
That's a really good way to describe Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's like a tourist trap in the middle of the mountains.
If you're not at Myrtle Beach, you're at Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
This is so true.
And if you're at neither of those, you're right here in Ohio.
What's up with people from Ohio going to Gatlinburg or Florida?
I think it's a thing where us people in Ohio really have to pretend to be a lot smarter than we are. And so when you go down to Tennessee and Florida, you really can just get on your inner dumbass and go back down to the white trash roots that we really are. That's just my guess.
I saw so many trendy mullet haircuts when I was down there. They've advanced from regular mullets to like the fade mullets. Yeah.
It's a thing right now. It's fucking ugly.
Oh, it's terrible.
Just go. I'm not even going to come. I have long ass hair right now, so.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, just don't do it. Just grow it out.
Yeah, that's our advice. I feel like there's nothing to say about my trip, really. I mean, it was Gatlinburg.
Did you do the mountain coaster?
Nah, we didn't.
Didn't do any go-karting?
No, we did like the mini golf bullshit, and we ate at subpar restaurants.
Correct.
And that's Gatlinburg.
Did you go to not Newport Aquarium, the Ripley's Aquarium?
Not this time.
Good.
I've been before.
Dude, that shit's over in 5 minutes.
Is it?
Yeah, like I feel like anytime you walk through the door, you're right at the exit.
The only notable thing that happened the entire trip is I saw a black bear.
Oh shit, I almost completely forgot.
And I don't mean that I went to the zoo and saw a black bear. There wasn't a cage between me and him.
Mm-hmm.
We were walking back to our hotel. It was about 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
We had just left this arcade that was probably the only thing open in the entire town at that time. And we walk by an alley, and I see something like big crawl out of a dumpster. And like my brain didn't know it yet, but my heart did, because it like sunk into my stomach immediately. And I was with my wife and my mom, and we were all carrying pizza with us.
Oh my God.
Which like made me even more scared. And it ran directly at us from across the street, and it went right behind my mom, and then it turned around and ran back to the dumpster.
What the fuck?
And this was I sent you a picture of it. It was a big boy.
It was a biggin' guy.
God, dude. Actually, just thinking about it right now, it's making my heart beat.
You know what? You know how you fix that? You swig down a little infamous local brewery Fig Leaf Star Crusher IPA. The infamous. I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the podcast, but this is a beloved a beer by both of us that you turned me on to a couple years ago.
I don't think it's been available since we started doing this show, really.
No, it hasn't. I don't think they brought it back last year.
They did not. Yeah, Fig Leaf, local brewery.
Yeah, they didn't have it in cans this time, so we had to purchase a growler at the brewery to get it filled. And so we have approximately 2 liters of 8% easy drinking IPA, so this should help fuel our madness later this evening. The notable thing that happened for me, I got engaged this past weekend, so that was it was something. It was nerve-wracking, to say the least.
Well, congratulations, man. Thanks. I think I already told you that, but...
You did. Just gotta let our viewers know that I'm a broken man, and it begins now.
Life's over, dude.
I'll see you at your funeral.
Do you want to talk about, like, how it went down?
Yeah, oh my God, I'm getting anxiety. Just thinking about it. Well, we went to a local restaurant. It's called Jags. It's a steak and seafood place, and it's like fine dining. And I had been there. So I took her there. We never celebrated our like anniversary type stuff, but this year we did. We started dating 5 years ago on May 28th, and so I took her there Saturday, which was May 28th, and so we were celebrating our 5 year together and everything, and we had a lovely waitress, and started out with like shrimp cocktail and bread, obviously. I had a steak with like seafood on it and like hollandaise sauce. It was really, really good. And she had scallops and a lobster tail. Expensive as fuck, Elizabeth. Jesus fucking Christ. And
better get used to it, man.
Yep. Women, I tell ya.
I'm glad that my wife has bad tastes. We just picked up Cracker Barrel for her.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. She likes old people food.
Biscuits and gravy and cornbread.
She would never eat anything that comes out of the water.
No. Elizabeth doesn't really like steak, so, you know, I never have to pay for her. I like to get a nice steak. But I did have to pay for her to get her a nice-ass lobster tail, so. It was a great dinner. I had a nice glass of red wine, and our waitress brought us out a slice of cheesecake to celebrate. To set the stage, we were, like, in a smaller room in the restaurant with about 4 other tables were seated with us, all about as big as this basement that we're sitting in right now. And I was like, buddy, dinner's almost over, man. You gotta get this shit rolling. So I got up and I went over to her and I got down on one knee. And I asked her. She said yes. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, it was great. It was over with, and I was glad it was over with. And our waitress brought us out some nice champagne to celebrate. And we went about our business and went back to our family and showed them and everything. And yeah, now I'm here, and now it's time to plan a wedding, which will be just as stressful, I'm sure.
Are you guys planning on doing it like relatively soon?
Be in the next 2 years for sure. We got to pick a date and a venue. Right now we're trying to close on an apartment and all that bullshit. So little things like that, we'll get there. It'll be here sooner than I expect, and I'll be talking about it on the podcast then. But yeah, it was a milestone moment in my life, and I'm excited to be with her. I know it's really coming through on the podcast here. But yeah.
You did take CBD gummies today.
I did. I'm a little more mellow. It'll be less so later, I'm sure, when we get to talk about our movie finally. We're doing Avatar, per my recommendation.
A James Cameron film.
It's from 2009. Coming off that fucking housing market crash. Boys, here we are. Yeah, we've talked about this movie enough on the podcast. We probably could have cut all the clips and made it its own podcast, but
have we?
We talked about it quite a bit. At least I have. It's just a fond memory of seeing it in theaters in 3D, which is a great talking point. Let's get into it. Like, when you strip this movie down to what it is in standard viewing, non-big screen, its plot holes show tremendously. There is something about the cultural impact of when it came out. Everyone's seen it. It's the number one grossing film of all time still.
Do you have any idea what the number it hit is?
It's like 2 trillion, maybe.
It was in theaters for a really long time. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it until about 2010, and I still got to see it in a theater in 3D.
Yeah, the 3D really adds to the mesmerizing nature of the film, where I remember just feeling so entranced. And, you know, I think the runtime obviously helps fill that. You're feeling so ingrained and part of the film at the same time. And I would love to see it in 3D again. I feel like that movie came out in 3D and it probably caught the trend of at-home 3D TVs and Blu-ray players and all that shit. And it'd be nice to see it again in that context. And I'm not sure, is the second one going to be out in 3D? Like, I imagine so.
I bet it will be. It's not really a trend that's been prevalent over at least the last couple of years. I feel like Avatar kind of brought that onto the scene again, and then every single movie tried to be 3D after that, so they could charge you an extra $3 when you go to the theater. Kind of glad that it tempered out a little bit.
Like, I think you were able to see the most recent Doctor Strange movie in 3D.
Really?
Yeah, but it's not like something that is a big selling point, I feel like, for most films now. Obviously.
No.
Like, nothing's ever advertised in 3D. Or maybe we just don't notice it because we're not kids anymore. Like, was that a big thing? Was that the whole selling point, was seeing it in 3D?
Like, for Avatar specifically?
Just as a kid, when you watch movies, when you see an advertising on TV in between SpongeBob and whatever the fuck you're watching.
I think when you're a kid, you don't really see it as a gimmick yet.
That's what I'm getting at. I don't know. But, I mean, if the next Avatar's in 3D, I'd be down.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
But this was like one of those films that first was able to capture on a large scale as well, with multiple characters, CGI humanoid characters that didn't feel like super uncanny valley, where it was sold really well. And obviously that has to do with the world building of the film and James Cameron's vision to help create this world. But let's get into it. Like, I mean, we get to meet our blank slate, boring ass main character right from the get-go.
Okay, I'm glad that you feel the same way.
I remember, I think you can look up the original release trailer for the film, and there's like unused footage that never made it, and it's like Jake Sully back on Earth. Part of me thinks that this movie could have easily been 4 or 5 hours, and it was just cut in a way to like remove a lot of Jake Sully's backstory.
I did feel like it brushed over things very quickly in the beginning.
And I think that's one of the biggest detriments of the film. Not that I want it to be longer, but I think the script is super weak in a way that's undescribable. And the only thing that really keeps the film afloat is the visuals. And that's okay. I want more from our characters, because it could be so much more than what it is.
I agree completely.
Like the main antagonist of Ranger Rick, or whatever the fuck his name is, Colonel.
I don't even know his last name.
Colonel Who Gives a Fuck, exactly.
I watched it last night and I already forget.
Like, what's this guy's motive? Like, I understand that it was kind of brushed on when, Jake Sully gets to meet him for the first time, and he talks about how he kind of got his ass kicked on his first week out here on Pandora. He's got a huge scar on his face. Does that make him
like more angry at the Na'vi people?
Yeah, he's like just so full of malice and hatred to the point where it feels like parody.
It does.
And it's frustrating. It just feels like no one really has a great motive to be there. But here's the other thing. You get that first opening monologue, and it's like, yeah, we have to hunt out other planets because we've drained our Earth of its natural resources. And it's like, okay. And then it's never mentioned ever again. Like, it doesn't seem like they have a great reason to be there, because once you're in it, you're there, and it's never brushed on ever again. It's just like, there's bad guys past that fence, and we got to go in there. And to me, that feels super bland.
It's like vanilla ice cream, almost.
Not even with like sprinkles, just vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, and like an off-brand. And I kind of get why the story is so basic and like why the characters are the way they are, because James Cameron's main focus of the movie was innovating this new technology and putting it to use here. Isn't it true that he had bounced this movie script around for like at least since the 90s maybe?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What?
And I don't think they were ready to make the movie yet because the technology wasn't available. So really, if you think about it, this is like the world's most expensive tech demo.
That's the best way I've heard it described. I think I almost feel as if James Cameron had a better idea, but maybe like studios were involved or other producers. Things got more vanilla. Like things got dumbed down. And I know, like, I'm pretty sure James Cameron, I think his brother helped him. I could be wrong, but I think he like wrote a book on the biology of Pandora and everything, like really expanded out this world. And part of me thinks if it's supposed to be the first installment of like a long ass series, they just kind of had to like ship it out the door a little unfinished as far as like script writing and world building goes, to make it more streamlined and suitable for the public. And not to mention, it's almost a 3-hour movie. So he had a lot of time to work with, and it still didn't quite feel finished as far as script and dialogue. I mean, do you feel the same way? I mean, because there's only a few characters that I find redeemable throughout the entire film.
I'd say I shared almost the exact same sentiment. Yes. I feel like they had to do it so it appealed to the biggest audience they could. There's nothing in this movie that feels challenging in any way. The subject matter or like the themes that it's trying to tackle are very surface level. And I agree with the themes that it's trying to tackle. This environmental, saving the planet and leaving indigenous people alone. But I've seen it described as like a rain puddle. It could be a mile wide, but it's only like an inch deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Perfect example of poor writing. They're here for something called unobtainium.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Let's just let that speak for itself. As a kid, that went right over my head. But when I watched this movie, I went, wait, what?
Did you not remember that?
I was like, what is it called? As a kid, you're just like, yeah, it's a fucking thing that they get. And now I'm like, I don't get it. It's so frustrating as somebody with an almost fully developed frontal cortex to like digest through my ears. Like, how did that happen? Like, why make that choice? It's little things like that that really help dumb down what could be a very interesting and fun world that this movie's set up in. And to me, it's like, why? It's like building a nuclear reactor without any fail-safes.
Yeah.
It's like you're waiting for something to implode. This movie 9/11 itself, like I don't understand why
9/11
do
itself.
why do that. It's just little shit, you know what I mean?
Unobtainium sounds like the name they would put in the script as like a placeholder. Like, okay, we'll come up with a better name later. And then somehow it just made it in.
And then also, what is it used for? It was never like,
I think they said it was worth a lot of money.
it's worth a lot of money. But why? Why is it worth a lot of money?
They might as well have just called it the MacGuffin. It's not much more basic than unobtainium.
It's like the Bitcoin of this world. No one knows what it does, but we're buying it.
And they only mention it like in one scene,
Yes.
and then it's never expanded upon.
The whole reason why we kind of get our plot gets rolling is because their home tree, which is this massive skyscraper of a tree, is sitting on the largest deposit of this resource. Our main character, Jake Sully, has to infiltrate. I don't think I feel like I have to explain the plot. Everybody's seen this fucking movie. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we can screw around that shit.
The whole love interest shit really bothered the fuck out of me. As an adult looking back into it, it gets revealed to Natiri that his whole reason to be there is to get them to move so he could bring them this message. And then 5 minutes later, she's like, I love you.
Yeah. And then she gets mad at him again, like 5 minutes later after that, when Papa Smurf dies.
Well, that's prior. Like, it goes, you're an outsider, I don't like you, to I'm in love with you, to I hate you because my whole tribe is dead, to I love you because you captured this big giant dragon and everything's okay now.
Yeah. There was a lot of points in the second act where things dragged or seemed a little repetitive. You know how like most movies have that the second act low point where like, okay, now we got to climb back up the hill to reach like a climax or some emotional payoff of some sort.
Where it could take like 15 to 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah. This movie did it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Like we didn't need that.
In that first hour of the film, it's about 40 minutes in, is when he finally touches down and goes to the tribe and meets everyone. And that's like, again, 40 minutes in. And then you get probably 30 to 40 minutes of what almost feels like a montage with a little bit longer scenes, maybe like 5-minute scenes where you get the horse, the bow and arrow, the dragons. It really takes its time, which is fine. I get it. It's a long-ass movie, and you need to expand this world. That stuff's all fine and dandy, but again, after, Home Tree falls, it gets super boring. So fucking boring. Like, all the shit back at the compound I find super boring.
Are you talking when our heroes are like taken hostage?
As traitors? Yeah. This is where I get really bored because our other supporting actors are so fucking boring.
They're bad.
The only one that's not is Sigourney Weaver's character, and she dies, so like that's not fun. And not to say that you can't kill a great character in a movie, but it's like your contract's not going on past this film.
They're really killing off the one of the likable characters, and you're being left with the boring scientist guy and the nerdy sidekick. Is Trudy the helicopter lady?
To the helicopter lady.
She has nothing to her.
Yeah, she's the helicopter lady, and she dies.
Yeah.
And when she dies, it's like, she died.
Even her line delivery when
It's awful.
When her helicopter's getting shot down, she's like, I guess the mission is over. Like, it's so robotic.
Sorry, Jake. Yeah.
Like,
It feels like she's supposed to be some type of like Sigourney Weaver badass Ripley character, but no, she's not. She's like I've heard it best described as Sarah Connor knockoff.
yeah.
And yeah, she is for sure. And she's definitely written that way. Like she's super boring. Nobody on the human side of things really has any depth to them, and that includes our main character. Obviously, he's paralyzed from the waist down, and that's like his whole motivation of being back inside of his avatar body because he can live out what would be his normal life again amongst these tribal people. Yeah, it fucking sucks because I really, really hope in this second film that they expand upon some deeper themes or things are more fun as far as our characters go and less about the world that we're in. because look, man, like you can have a great world, but if you can't tell a compelling story, like why are we here? And that's like super frustrating to me.
Yeah, hopefully this is just the blueprint, and I mean that fully with a pun intended right there. Do you hate this movie? Like as an overall?
I don't hate it. It's not like a Jack and Jill type of thing.
Yeah, no, not at all. You know, I actually we've been shitting on it a lot so far, but I actually liked it more than I thought I was going to.
Well, that's good. I mean, like, when's the last time you saw this movie?
10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going in expecting to like fully hate this. I've been reading all these Reddit threads about like how this is one of the worst movies ever, or like the most overrated movie ever, and that's just like hyperbolic. Like that's not true. It's an okay movie.
Yeah, it's like mid.
Yeah.
It's mid with like the highest budget you can think of, which is perfectly fine. I'm all here for the visuals. The world building on like the Na'vi tribe side is super fun. It's just where I have problems with our characters a lot. I think the soundtrack is fucking great too. Like soundtrack's awesome. Like beautiful motifs littered throughout. The soundtrack feels completely thought out. It holds up well, and so does like the special effects. The special effects hold up super well. There was only like a handful of times in this. It's a long fucking movie. There's plenty of opportunities for things to fail because the vast majority of this film is CGI. So, you know, the likelihood of failure is high at certain points. The only problem I had was sometimes the lighting was wrong, and I especially noticed it on Sigourney Weaver's character.
Yeah, it was like Uncanny Valley a little bit, specifically for her.
I almost think like her nose was not Na'vi enough, if I'm thinking about it in my head, because it felt like you pasted her face onto a body and not like integrated her very well. And also like her character was old, or like, you know, in her
40s.
midlife. Yeah, 40s or 50s or whatever. She comes off as a middle-aged scientist, and then her body was super youthful, so that kind of like threw a little bit of a kink in the operation. Her body was more slender than I expected.
What was the shirt she was wearing?
Like a Harvard or a Stanford?
They really made a fitted Na'vi t-shirt for Stanford just for her?
I guess.
This is really weird to me.
I think it was maybe supposed to try to add like she's, you know, she graduated from Stanford, and oh, like, look, they wear human clothing. Because, like, you know, Norm and even Jake, they'll wear human clothing at the beginning of the film. And Norm, the buddy sidekick scientist, he wears it throughout when he's in his Na'vi body. I think the problem with, like, Grace's avatar CGI might have to do somewhat with, again, that age gap. And then also, the majority of the film, you see Grace as her human self, and very little of her in her avatar body. So maybe that kind of adds a little bit of disbelief to it. It's hard to catch, and there's a lot in this movie, so that stuff goes pretty under the radar if you really have to sit down and think about it.
You know, I love Sigourney Weaver, but I don't think she was really bringing her A game,
No,
like
you don't think so?
acting-wise. Not really. I felt like there was really nothing to her.
I think in the cast of characters, I think she did the best. And I think it's because her writing was a lot better. Like, even though she might have been like a parody type of like tough on the outside, soft on the inside type of character, you know, her off the cuff comments, comedy relief was, I found enjoyable. Like when she goes up to the office and says, "You're intentionally pissing on me," and things like that, where, you know, I found her motives very believable. It had been alluded to that she had been close to the tribe at one point, and she had been outcast at this point because she had to teach the Na'vi English, and, you know, she was probably like one of their first contacts to humanity. I found her character somewhat redeeming amongst the rest of the supporting cast, because when you compare her up to fucking Ranger Rick,
Yeah.
or Trudy, or Norm, or any of like the family tribe, the clan leaders and shit, I found her motives very believable.
Okay, I can see that then. Maybe she was just the best out of a boring bunch.
Correct.
Maybe. There was one scene that was really weird to me involving her. It was towards the beginning when Sully first gets into the Avatar body. Before this scene happened, she seemed really dismissive of Sully, saying like, "All right, like Jughead, you stupid Marine." And then he gets into the body and he goes outside, and then Sigourney Weaver's there in her Avatar body, and she's like, "Hey, what's up, Sully?" And they're like playing basketball and shit. it was like a really weird tone change to me. It went from like hate to like, hey, what's up, dude?
Yeah, it does go from like that scorn, dismissive attitude to the reflexes are looking good. Yeah, that's true. I did find that whole sequence very fun, though, as far as Jake's character goes, like getting to see him get his legs back and completely disregarding all the doctors and everything, and him moving his tail around and hitting everybody with it. It gives you that first up-close look at the scale difference between human and Avatar, and kind of shows you how imposing they can be and why they might be fearful.
You know, I think that was one of the best scenes, him waking up for the first time as the Avatar. Just the whole, like, paraplegic, guy getting his legs again. That was really... It was one of the few emotional moments to me.
Like watching him wiggle his toes in the soil again, like that was very... I wouldn't say very, actually, now that I think about it. It's nice to see a little bit of sentiment and emotion brought into that, because up until this point, he's been, like, super depressive almost. Part of me, like, really wanted to, like, see him do, like, the obstacle course training and shit, because, like, him running out, I'm like, I want to, like, explore this whole training grounds that they have.
That would have been really cool.
But time restraints, things are happening super fast. You can't really expand upon stuff for more than 5 minutes at a time, where in certain aspects they could take 30 minutes, you know what I mean, or 25 minutes, have a lot of, how do you put it? It feels like the movie starts, and then 15, 20 minutes in, it's like, okay, he's in his body. You get to skip, like, a lot of the logistics, which I'm not saying, like, logistics are fun. Things do happen really fast, like that whole scene between him and Grace, him out on the training grounds, and it's like, okay, time to go to bed.
Like, I felt like I'd missed something almost.
And same with when he shows up at Home Tree, it's like, okay, you're going to teach him our ways now. And then it's like, okay, we sit around a campfire for 30 seconds, and then we walk up the tree and we go to bed. And that's it.
Yeah. And they're like, you're one of us now.
Uh-huh. I found, like, the training montage, I found it pretty fun. I'm not going to lie. That's one of my favorite parts of the film. Feeling like you're ingrained into the culture a little bit. I think it kind of adds into the... You ever heard, like, the press surrounding the film of, like, people being depressed after seeing the movie?
Oh, my God, yes. I forgot that this was a thing.
Yeah.
I want to leave my life and go to Pandora.
Uh-huh. Hey, man, the Disney ride, it's a good fucking time.
God damn it, I haven't been on it.
Oh, my God. I walked away feeling like I don't want to live in this world. I need VR to be a thing right now. I think they're making a new Avatar game, actually, now that I remember.
A game?
Yeah, they're making another game. There was, like, games that came out with the release of the film. I think I had one on my PSP.
Really? I knew there was, like, an Xbox 360 game around this time, too.
I had the PSP game, and it was exactly what you think it is, like, boring-ass, third-person, platformer-type, objective, shoot the Marines with a bow. Yeah, it's stupid. But they're making a new one. I think Ubisoft has the rights to it. I don't know. I won't play it. They somehow struck... When did they build, like, the Pandora stuff at Animal Kingdom?
I'd say around 2016 or 17.
Jesus Christ, that's so late.
Yeah, God, I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but I feel like they were trying to make this a franchise before it, like, deserved to be called a franchise. Like, the marketing was, like, insane for this, with games, toys, an entire section of Disney World. I mean, this movie came out, like, 13 years ago, and there still hasn't been a follow-up. There is no franchise yet.
I think the third and fourth movies are in filming right now, and the second... Or maybe it's the third one's already in post-production. I don't know. Man, I guess that's why we haven't seen this actor at all. Our main character of Jake Sully. Like, he hasn't been in anything.
James Cameron's just been keeping him busy for 13 years.
I'm sure he's just being paid handsomely the whole time. I'm sure he's not too upset about it.
You know, I think he might be a better actor the next time this comes around.
Let's hope. I'm not saying he didn't do a good job, but, man, the script did not serve him.
Yeah, it was really plain. His facial acting wasn't very good in the movie either, really. Like, his reaction shots or anything like that, it just seemed like acting class 101 type stuff.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it gets shrouded by the fact that it's CGI. And
I'm talking specifically when he's a human.
Oh, well then yes.
I think the parts where he's in the Avatar body is a lot better. Maybe not the voice acting, like it's okay. I mean, they nailed the facial mapping on these CGI characters pretty well, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not hating on that. And yeah, he does have like a dissociative type of feel to him when he's in his human body, especially like his interactions with the rest of like the science team and all that. I think like Neytiri's character, like her motives are great, but I find the whole "my father's dead because of you and now I still love you" type of thing like super uncomfortable as an adult.
Yeah, it just moved too fast. Like there should have been like maybe
There should have been more tension between them prior to this immediate resolve.
Yeah, because he immediately just goes and slays this dragon thing and brings it back, and it's like, okay, everything's good now.
Man, it was still super weird even coming back to this movie. I've seen this movie dozens of times. Like when I watched it all the time after school when I was younger. It was one of those movies that I just watched on repeat. I can't remember where I was going with this. We're finishing our glasses. It's showing now. I still found it super weird. The whole hair thing.
Yes.
I guess maybe I had seen it so many times where I didn't really think about it, but it was still super jarring as like the first time I saw it. Just how much the hair plays a big deal into like the whole connecting into nature, connecting with other animals. I found it just super jarring. And at some point, don't they tie their hair together to mate or whatever the fuck?
I think so, yeah. Doesn't that have weird implications about what they're doing with the animals, though?
You're breaking my reality. Stop.
I don't like that thought.
Yeah, let's move on past that one.
Do these people cut their hair? No?
Well, you're going to cut your dick off if you do so.
What a weird concept.
Here's a great point. Why cover up the genitalia area if the genitalia is in the hair?
Is it confirmed that the genitalia is in the hair? Is that a fact?
I don't know what it is. It almost feels like it's their way to connect minds to nature and other animals, because you get the whole sequence with the horse that Jake is like feeling the breath and the heartbeat in the body of this horse after he makes the bond. But why are they covering up their dick area if that's how they mate? But I guess they don't breed through the hair, or like I guess they don't give birth through the hair canal.
Do they even breed? Where were the children?
There was like children.
Was there?
Yeah, I guess we'll find out in Avatar 2 where the babies come from, because I guess they have kids in the next one.
Okay. Because I do remember Grace saying, you can't tear down the tree because like families live there. Like, do you want to kill babies? But I don't remember seeing any babies.
I remember seeing young kids, and there was one baby of note, and it's during when the tree falls. When the tribe is finally evacuating the area, there is a mother carrying a baby. It's a small little blue baby.
Okay. I guess it makes sense because a lot of the time that you see the Na'vi, it's like in these adult situations where they're training or they're doing like some kind of ritualistic sort of thing. So I guess it makes sense that kids wouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still super odd as like a world building device. I mean, I guess it kind of helps create like the alien feel, but let's talk about why they don't feel like aliens as well. They're these humanoid creatures, and they have these big, cute, innocent eyes.
They got the Disney eyes, man.
And the ears, all this shit. Yeah, they're cat people. That's the way Pixar animates characters. It's the cat method.
You've talked about this before.
Have I?
Big eyes draw sympathy from the audience.
Mm-hmm. Big eyes, small nose, blown out proportions, bigger cheekbones, some sort of personality device with like the ears. You can animate like submissiveness, like other animals. Like when a dog puts its ear back or its tail down, can help convey more of like this animalistic, cutesy personality that they draw in. I've heard comparisons to, hey, remember District 9, how ugly those fucking aliens were? Mm-hmm. But the reason you sympathize with them is because you got to see what their life was like through their eyes, and you root for them just as much as you do Vicus, the main character in that film, by the end of it.
I had a lot of District 9 flashbacks watching this movie.
Mm-hmm. And that it's like that. It's a little bit of a cheapening effect to the sympathy that they bring in, at least from plot and script writing.
The design could have been more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a more interesting movie if the Na'vi were like kind of ugly or like repulsive in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking like 8 arms and like 10 eyes or something, but it didn't have to be the Disney face.
Mm-hmm. One of the problems lies in is that Jake leans so heavily into the culture that he completely disregards his human life and the human motives that he originally comes from. You know, maybe they could have wrote in some sort of, I don't know, there's a ritual or something culturally that would be completely foreign and repulsive, or would like help create some sort of reluctancy from that character, you know, him to be like, okay, I found this super appalling, and have him weigh out certain things. But like his motives go from 0 to 100. Like he flips sides really fast, and it's all through like the lens of a love interest, which really, in my opinion, helps dumb down any sort of, I don't know how you put it, like back and forth, wishy-washy, standing on the fence that he could have done.
It should have been more of a gray area. Mm-hmm. Because, like, if he hadn't fallen in love with her, would he have just been like, all right, bulldoze this shit? Like,
exactly.
I don't care.
That's what I'm getting at. And also, I found it really jarring that, you know, after, like, Home Tree falls, he begins to almost take up the mantle of, like, leading this clan, which those responsibilities should have fell on the son of the tribe, and it feels like he gets pushed into the background really fast.
He does.
And it's like, this is the dude that just helped destroy your home and helped kill your father, and now he's like some sort of savior figure.
I know that this narrative wasn't as big then as it is now, but the white savior,
Yeah.
I kept thinking that throughout the movie. Like someone from the outside coming in and like being the one, like the chosen one. Even in a scene where Sully meets the mother character for the first time, she has like a sense about him, like you must keep him around, or this man's important. Why?
Yeah, there was like previous to that, when he first meets Ntiri, it's like she's reluctant to kill him because like one of those jellyfish seeds fall on her bow. It's almost like their deity. Awa is like their god, which, you know, also I found super interesting to think about outside of the context of the film, like regarding religion. I was thinking so much about like how much you could pull out of this film and like make its own religion out of it. Like if you wrote it down on paper without context, it like could totally work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found that shit interesting, like how much like doctrine can go into like religion and stories, and I don't know. I found it interesting.
Maybe it's something that will be expanded on in the sequel. There's a whole lot of potential that this movie sets up.
Yeah, and it's like coming so late. Everybody's gonna rewatch this film again before they see the new one. Yeah, I really hope they just like dive in though. If it has any sort of like the same feel as this movie, as far as like we meet antagonist and now we must rise up together and kill the antagonist or evacuate these people from our lands, I'm gonna get like very frustrated.
Oh, that would be bullshit. I was kind of thinking that actually when this movie ended. It was like, okay, what now? Like, what else would you do here, story-wise?
Well, I was thinking so much about how they're all getting ready to ship out. They're shipping out all the humans and putting them on ships and sending them home. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, from a military point of view, all you would have to do, since your enemy is no longer near, is go back out into orbit and fucking be like, hey, we need reinforcements, and then touch back down. I mean, maybe that will happen, you know, as the setup for the next film, because it takes 5 years to get to Pandora or whatever. He'll have kids or whatever at this point, you know, maybe they'll come back. Our Ranger Rick character is casted in the following films.
He is.
He is casted in the following films, and part of me worries that they're going to do some weird shit and have him come back as some Avatar clone or some dumb shit.
Oh, God, that'd be terrible. I guess you never see his dead body. Confirmation that he's really dead.
Oh, my God. If they do some dumb shit like that, I'll fucking get pissed.
Like, there was another Marine off-screen that was nearby when he died, and he put an oxygen mask on him or something. Like, please don't do that.
Surprised to see me, Jake? You didn't expect me to blend in with these blue people now, did you? Yeah, I can't do that shit.
God damn it, I feel like I just watched a scene from Avatar 2.
You did. I need to be paid right fucking now.
Yeah.
James Cameron, hit me up. You can contact me at poppypurd@gmail.com. That's not my email. Good luck to whoever it is.
I think it would be interesting if the next movie was focused on like an inner conflict between the Na'vi.
I have a feeling that might be the case.
I hope so. That'd be way more interesting than more bad humans coming to take the MacGuffin away.
I think from what I can tell, just based off the teaser trailer, they have children. One of them's a human. Yeah, there's a human. You'll have to watch it again.
A human baby?
There's a human child, and it's theirs. Part of me wonders if, like, other clans will come up against them because of or like they'll have inter-clan conflict because there's a human child amongst them.
Okay.
Stuff like that, where maybe that could be a plot point.
That would be interesting.
Because I think during some of the dialogue during the teaser trailer is like, I'll do anything to protect our family, blah, 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 blah. My face is blue, so are you. Let's shoot our bow and arrows. Yeah, I don't know. Another con, let's just fucking shit. Let's just shit on it.
This has been nonstop negativity for the most part.
It's nonstop throughout the film, man. I don't hate it. It's still super fun. I just think it needs to be held to a higher standard, especially looking forward. And I think that's kind of the way I've been wanting to tackle it to begin with. Wow, what a way to write an army of people and have them all have like a 75 IQ.
Are we talking about humans? Or
we're talking about like just the military. I was really pulled out of it specifically when they're getting ready to go have a full-scale invasion on these savages. And fucking Colonel Sanders is, the way I say it, we got to fight terror with terror. And it's like, Jesus Christ, you're pulling straight from George W. there. And then they take off. I'd like to be home for dinner now, boys. And all this shit. And they're leaving the compound, and through the glass windows, you just see, yeah, hurrah, and it's like, why, under any circumstance, would you choose to do that with what appears to be real-life people? Because as far as I'm concerned, any sort of military operation, high-stakes scenario, things would be a little bit more tense. I understand if you're wanting to rally around and, kind of get your boys ready for war. But from what I've seen, just from like films and footage from soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, it is such a parody of that culture in a way I found super repulsive. And I'm not like fucking gung-ho, America's the best country in the world, we have the best military power in the world, and that's just not the way the culture should be portrayed. It felt super, super boring and dumb.
There should have been an element of fear. Like, we should have gotten some close-up shots of like these side soldier characters like trembling before going onto the battlefield or something, or like, oh man, I got kids at home, like. Or there should have been like some strategizing where in this movie they just go like guns blazing into the battlefield.
That's something I was thinking about during like that final act of war. I'm thinking to myself, where is like military strategy in this? I'm thinking like they're diving headfirst into this unknown territory. He even mentions, fucking Colonel Sanders is, keep an eye out. They're out there. I know you can't see them, but they're out there. And like their whole thing was like, our instruments don't work, so we're just gonna fucking dive head in. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And I know that like it's plot armor and it's a way to help push this final engagement into like full blown chaos. But holy shit, like they should be firing off missiles and hitting the mountains and seeing if dragons fall and people open fire on them. They all, like, you should send in a 1st Battalion. You don't send out the fucking warship, the mothership type of bull right into the middle of this action. It doesn't make any sense.
I kind of get why they did it, because that second act had so many low points for the main characters. So in this third act, you want to see them have the upper hand. And when our main heroes like do get the upper hand at the beginning of that fight, like it is kind of like a feel-good moment, but it makes it so much less interesting that they went about it that way. Like the whole like scanner thing not working, as you mentioned, like that could have made for some like really good drama.
You could have pulled obviously on a larger scale, like the whole motion detector from Alien.
Yeah.
Add some fear into our antagonists or help empathize with them and see their fear and sympathize and understand how they view, and obviously like you're meant to root for the natives. It's obviously that's the point of the story, and there's no gray area, and it really helps cheapen the film thematically and emotionally. It feels like the stakes are super low because we've already like seen them pretty much get run down, and watching them win was kind of unbelievable.
I agree.
And I understand the whole, Jake prays to the fucking tree, the tree hears him back and sends in animals and all that shit.
And that was a great moment.
Yeah, like that, I get it. I understand. But the whole environmental, it gets really dumbed down when your main resource is called unobtainium. The bad guys feel like the guy running the operation. I'm thinking to myself, how did you get here? Who on earth decided, hey, let's send out old fucking Buckaroo to run this whole operation? That guy didn't seem like he knew how to do basic math, let alone lead an entire army of people to excavate this resource out of the earth.
You've called him so many different names.
You know what? The guy that plays fucking golf
that guy.
Him and Ranger Rick are like.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Ranger Rick a second ago. Colonel Mustard here.
Colonel fucking who gives a shit?
Yeah, the Parker character.
Parker.
This is the worst character in the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He is the most like stereotypical. He's like a sleazy CEO. Mm-hmm. He plays golf in The Office. He's actually played by an actor that I like, Giovanni Ribisi. He plays. Have you ever seen Ted?
Yes, with the bear.
He's the villain in that movie.
I don't remember that movie at all.
He's like the pedophile guy that steals Ted at the end.
Oh my God, yeah.
He's been in a few things that I like. And in this movie, I think he's terrible.
Yeah.
Whatever accent he's putting on sounds like a fake accent. Like he's enunciating words in the weirdest fucking way.
Sounds like he has a piece of chewing gum in.
Yeah, he does. I think the one line that cements him as the worst character is when Sigourney Weaver goes on this big monologue about how complicated the biology of the forest is and all this stuff.
Oh my God.
And he has to go in and be like, oh my God, what are you guys smoking around here?
Mm-hmm. You can throw a stick and it'll hit a sacred fern, for Christ's sake.
Dude, the writing is so terrible.
And that choice of dialogue completely disregards like Sigourney Weaver's point, which is world building. But it completely gets shadowed and gets taken not seriously by a character in the film, and so you don't care about it as a viewer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I kind of felt like this guy, he should have been the one that had some kind of punishment against him. He disappears completely from the third act, and you see him in like the last 2 minutes of the movie being marched off the planet. Mm-hmm. It's a super lame way to send off that character. Mm-hmm. Do you know if he's casted for the next one?
I don't know. I was just looking up the our Ranger Rick character. He looks like
Ranger Rick.
He looks like he was in what's that fucking movie called? The guy puts the sperm in the turkey baster.
Excuse me?
You never seen that movie?
What the fuck are you talking about? Sperm in the turkey baster movie. Can't say I know that one.
He's blind and he tries to Stephen Lang is his name. He's in Don't Breathe and Don't Breathe 2.
Is that the one where
the kids break into the blind guy's house and he fucks them all up and he tries to put sperm in a turkey baster?
Oh, I've never seen this guy in anything. I've never seen that movie.
I've never seen that movie either. All I know is that he puts sperm in a turkey baster.
You know what? I might change my recommendation at the end of the show now.
He's casted in number 2. I don't see our boy Giovanni.
So they're bringing back the dead guy, but not the guy that never saw any consequences.
Nope, it says he's in it. But I don't know how much weight that statement carries, because it could just be that they took the OG cast and just fucking copy-pasted.
Yeah, they do that sometimes on Google.
So, like, the ending of the film, the whole, despite, like, them diving in headfirst into war, was really fun.
I think the third act kind of kicks ass.
Yeah, like, as much as I've pretty much shit on this entire film, the fun points are super fun. When it's happening, it's a good time. Like the final act it does pay off, finally. You know, you do get like that trough of boring exposition after the tree falls and everything, but the shit's fun. You get to see like the giant red dragon like fuck shit up too, and like throw helicopters around, and fortunately like some of our characters die. Helicopter Lady Trudy.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. In the plainest manner that could have been done.
Yeah, she gets fucking lit the shit up. She's like, I'm dead. Yeah, you are dead.
That's really the extent to it.
What a great observation you made in the last 30 seconds of your life.
I guess it should be said that we did miss a couple minutes of audio. We had a technical issue, so this is like a summary of a summary. I did find some of the violence pretty funny in this section. The dragons like slinging the helicopters around, the two dudes getting crushed between the explosives. Thought this shit was hilarious.
I really liked when Jake throws in the missile.
Oh, like into the blades of the helicopter.
Yeah, that show's dope.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You never really think about how like missiles are just hanging off of like these vehicles and shit, and like you really could just shoot one and like it would go boom.
Yeah.
And he throws it up into the propellers. That shit's dope.
I did kind of hate that Colonel Mustard, or whatever this guy's name is.
Colonel Sanders, Ranger Rick.
He had like infinite plot armor during this section.
Holy shit, he's invincible. He's a super soldier.
They shoot through the window and like the helicopter blows up and he still ends up on the floor. This dude's like the Terminator.
Exactly. The fucking whole goddamn ship just falls behind him.
I think he gets like in a mech suit.
Yeah. I was thinking to myself when it happened, I'm like, oh God, that's such like a Fast and Furious blockbuster moment. I'm like, stop. You're making it worse.
Yeah. It does lead into, and this is something I talked about before we got cut off with audio issues, where it goes into the stereotypical one-on-one, the main hero versus the bad guy. He's in the mech suit. I feel like the ending of District 9 was actually very similar to this. Was it not?
Yeah, it was. Did that movie come out before?
They came out the same year.
Really? Damn.
They did. I thought the fight was okay, but it leads to great drama when the main cabin where Sully, like his real body is kept, is broken open and he's left floundering like a fish on the ground.
Like coming in and out of consciousness, which the movie doesn't really follow its own rule at that point. Like he should be dead. Because
we've learned that the environment, the air that's breathed on this planet is toxic to humans.
Yeah. He basically gets saved by his woman, which, you know, this is a cool scene. Like, Neytiri comes in on, like, that fucking scary-ass cat thing, whatever you talk about. I almost completely forgot about, like, the beginning of the film where Jake's out on his own.
The animal encounters.
Like, that shit's really cool.
I almost forgot, too, over this 3-hour-long movie.
God, man, this movie's so long.
That first act feels like it was a year ago by the time you're at the end of it.
You know, she fucking lights him up, gives him the old 1-2 arrow to the chest. I actually really like this shot. We never really talked about like shot composition or anything, but when he gets hit by the arrow, he looks out into, you get to see from his perspective, and you watch the depth of field focus onto her and watch the arrow come in.
That was very cool.
It's a nice ass shot. Because it feels like most of the time we've been like super up close on our characters, and to get to see the scale of Neytiri from the Colonel's eyes was really cool. Man, he gets fucking, his eyes like dilate. Did you notice that? Like, is how big his pupils get?
I don't think I noticed that.
Like, they're so big. Like, part of me thinks it's like something to do with like the neurotoxin that comes in.
Oh yeah, that could be it.
But good Lord, he looks like cat eyes. But we do get like that final bit between Neytiri and Jake before the film ends, where you've got like that motif of I see you between them the entire film, and she finally gets to see him as just this small man. It's kind of jarring if I really think about it, but it's cool. It's nice to be reminded that he is just human and he's like just been integrated into this world. We really didn't talk about some of the nicest shots in the film. When he releases the giant red dragon, like that's a beautiful fucking shot when it flies off into what seems like the sunset with like a couple of planets in the background.
I think it's easy to overlook shot composition during the CGI sections of the movie because it is like animated to an extent. For some reason, whenever I watch animated movies, I never think about shot composition unless it's like crazy, unless it's like Fantastic Mr. Fox or something.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I will praise the camera work during those CGI sections because it's like it's very handheld style. It's like it's kind of rough around the edges, and it gives the movie this like kinetic breakneck pace to it.
Like there's like really nice tracking shots throughout, like especially the stuff in the jungle. The like when he's moving through Home Tree, it tracks him through the campfire.
I felt that the cinematography during the human sections was very plain.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Good Lord, it's plain as fuck. It's all like
Yeah.
indoors too, which doesn't help.
It also doesn't help that I think the indoor sets in this movie
Are all CGI for the most part.
yeah.
Like
and-
the hangar, for example, is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, same here. All the lab stuff felt very like B-movie. They were too sanitary.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Everything was so neat and orderly. I mean, I guess like when they get up into like the Hallelujah Mountains and stuff, you kind of see them living little bit more loose, but still like back at the home base, it feels so, oh God, like corporate.
Think back to like Alien again, how the ship looked on that movie.
It looked lived in.
Yeah. There was like trash lying around, like soda cans and shit, like leftover frozen meals. And in this, it looks like they just moved in. Like the set was
Yeah.
built yesterday.
Even though they've been here for years. Yeah, and I guess it all ties back into how the supporting cast of human characters feels so boring. It doesn't do justice to the set either. Like, it just makes things feel so monotonous. And you're using the same set over and over again as well. And poor dialogue isn't going to shine light on any positive aspects of the environment that we're set up in. So, I mean, all the fun stuff is out in the woods. It's out on the planet of Pandora. And I mean, I guess it's, if you really think about it, I might be given too much credit where credit's due, but I think that's kind of the point of the film, too. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
the fun and the humanity is out in nature, and all this corporate military bullshit is sucking this place dry of life. God, I just gave way too much credit, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to milk it.
We have been really negative so far.
We have, and I don't want to like, it's not a bad movie at all.
Like, we're not going to give it like a 1 out of 10 or something at the end of this.
No, I think if you strip it back and like we talked about it how we did, and you really kind of put things in context, if you're like really being serious about it, it's like a 6 out of 10. Like story-wise, it doesn't really deserve that because the movie was super groundbreaking. And when you're watching it, it still is fucking awesome. Like, it's still really fun to watch.
It does feel like an adventure. When I'm watching, and you've mentioned this earlier, but you get sucked in, and it's not until after the credits roll and you start talking to somebody about it where things get weird.
Yeah. It's like 10 out of 10 visuals and like 6 out of 10 writing, which,
I would go lower on the writing.
oh yeah,
I would
probably
give it
4.
I'd give it like a 3 or 4.
Yeah. But I think as a watching experience, it's like somewhere like in the 8 out of 10. But on a technical, foundational layer of script writing and character dialogue, thematically, super weak. Like 6 out of 10. Like the themes were stuff pulled from Alien meets Lorax meets Pocahontas meets, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of everything.
It's very derivative, but with a new technological twist to it. I think for me, I'd go like a 5 out of 10, but I think I say that with the hope that this next installment will advance on this world and advance on these characters as well. Man, this second movie, there's a lot hedging on it. What if it bombs?
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck are they going to do? They got like 3 other movies on the back burner
They've got
after
like
that.
4 other movies on the background. I think they're going to do like a six-parter. Like, will people just be like, Mr. Cameron, like, we might need to rethink. Like, will they pull it back down to a trilogy, and will they have to rewrite the third one? And you know what I mean?
That'd be a huge disaster.
I don't think they'll let it get to that though. I can't believe they've greenlit like all the other films so far. I feel like that the first film was our way to step into the world, and maybe now we'll just be in it. And it'd be nice to just be in it and like maybe expand further and deeper into themes and character.
God, this second movie really needed to come out by like 2015, in all honesty.
2015 would be perfect. 6 years, it'd have been like, oh my God, I almost completely forgot. I'm so excited. But now it's like everybody knows that this next one is riding so hard on being good to get these next 4 fucking films to be good.
We gotta hope for the best, man. I think it'll be better.
I think since so much time has passed, and as a director, I'm sure James Cameron is feeling the pressure and knows that it has to be that much better. The actress that plays Neytiri had said during a pre-screening for the film that she cried during the film. So obviously, like, you know, actress likes her own film, but
Yeah, I'm going to take that with a grain of salt.
maybe it speaks to maybe this movie will tackle deeper themes, especially like with the family aspect, and more things will be riding on that.
I hope the both of us are right.
I'm done. You can hit me with it, whatever you got.
Okay, let's pause real quick because I'm going to pee so I can think it over.
Piss break.
Eagerly been anticipating what you got planned for me.
All right. We had to take like a mini break so I could think about it. I was kind of bouncing between two different films. One is a little bit older. One is maybe like less than 3 years old, I'd say. So I guess my white boy spiel for the day
Come on, boy.
is here on TDBR, I believe in redemption. Redemption for a certain actor that at one point we shit on quite a bit. It's been about a year, I'd say, since we reviewed the movie Jack and Jill.
Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. Please tell me.
We like fucking shat on the career of Adam Sandler, who really isn't that bad. I mean, you know, the man likes a paycheck. I can't blame him.
I like paychecks.
And he's had like his random dramatic role here and there. Punch Drunk Love, Reign Over Me.
Mm-hmm.
And most recently, the Safdie brothers movie, Uncut Gems.
I love you.
So that's my recommendation for 2 weeks from now.
You're just the best.
I think we gave Jack and Jill like a 0 or a 1 out of 10.
A -1 out of 10. A -10 out of 10.
A couple months ago, you and I watched the Safdie brothers movie, Good Time,
Yep.
which is like an all-time favorite of mine.
He pours the LSD on the poor man. That man will never be the same.
I think you can expect a little bit of the same, but Uncut Gems is a lot different too, thematically and in a narrative sense.
Okay.
So
I'm super hyped. I almost watched this by myself a couple days ago. So I've really been itching to watch this soon. So what better way to unpack it on here?
And you and I have almost watched it after podcast nights a couple times, and I was kind of like reeling against it in my own mind because I was like, we need to do it for the show.
I got you.
We should do it then.
I'm glad I watched Good Time prior, so I'll have a little bit to pull from. It'll be fun. I'm super excited. Ah, that's so fun. I can't wait to be super anxious. I'm super excited. I loved Good Time. It's probably one of the best films I've ever seen.
Oh, it's a great dude.
I've never seen anything quite like it, so I'm super hyped. Yeah, man, Adam Sandler in a dramatic role makes me super happy, so I'm excited to see this for the first time.
Oh yeah, I think you'll probably love it.
Oh, dude, I'm so hyped. That's awesome. Well, we just got done shitting on a movie, and we're gonna redeem. Maybe we'll redeem it eventually in Avatar 2. We'll do a little something for that if we go both see it or something.
Hopefully
on a bonus episode, or we'll come to it. But until then, we'll see you next time. And next time, I'll have a full-blown panic attack while describing this film, I'm sure. And it'll be a good time. But until then, I'm going to say goodbye, and so is my good friend Alex Getter.
Adios.